Picking up 1 year after the events of the final episode of The Good Wife, an enormous financial scam has destroyed the reputation of a young lawyer while simultaneously wiping out her mentor and godmother, Diane Lockhart. Savings forced out of Lockhart and Lee, they joined Luca Quinn at one point at one of Chicago's prominent law firms. This is the inauguration episode of The Good Fight.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Yeah, here we go.
Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of CBS's The Good Fight. I'm your host, Drexel Heard. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Drexel Heard. I'm here with a great new panel.
Hey.
Welcome, guys.
Hi, guys. I am Sarah Serio, and you can find me on Twitter at Sarah Serio. That's Sarah with an H.
Hey everybody, I'm Gragg. You can follow me on Instagram at alg_Jamaica House Film, as well as Twitter at SoundClashCine, and we'll be bumping a new Beyonce song every week, I think.
Yes.
That's it.
And I'm Jessie Zahner. You guys can find me all over social media at Athletic.
And if you're in the chat room, Jessie is going to be talking
Chat
to
with
you.
me, guys.
So chat with Jessie. I'll be able to see you guys, so we'll be able to throw you guys into the conversation. If you're on using social media, use the hashtag ABTVGoodFight to join the conversation. Leave your comments below and tweet at us at AfterBuzzTV.
Yo.
Yes.
Guys, I'm hoping every week that I use the synopsis, the TV guide synopsis, that I don't stumble over these words.
You won't.
You know, it's hard doing it down run time. You know, sometimes you got to start over and you got to be like, what is happening? So let's talk about The Good Wife first. Were you guys fans of The Good Wife?
I had people in my family, my sisters, they loved the show, but personally I never watched it. So coming into The Good Fight is kind of an interesting experience for me.
Actually, I have like the weirdest story about this. So I was not a fan of The Good Wife. I've heard about it, but honestly, I was doing another AfterBuzz show and I was reading the live read of it, and it literally sounded so good. And then Al brought it up to me, and I was like, I have to see the show. So here I am.
Oh,
What about you, Sarah?
perfect. I'm always one to not jump on the bandwagon, but when I saw Juliana Margulies win all the Emmys for The Good Wife, I was like, I feel like this is a good show.
Yes.
So then I watched a few episodes, but I wasn't like a diehard fan. So I knew I needed to watch The Good Fight.
I actually did not start picking up The Good Wife until probably the last 3 seasons of the show. And then I binge watched the rest of them. So I was all cut up, which is great for you guys because you guys are coming into the show with really fresh eyes.
excited, yeah.
So I look to all the fans out there in the chat room and stuff like that to fill us in when I need to be filled in on a lot of stuff that I might be missing, even though I was a fan of The Good Wife, and then welcome these guys to
Yes.
to Cook County.
Hey.
To Cook County. I do miss the Floricks, though. I do miss Juliana Margulies. I do miss Will and all the rest of the team. What did you guys think of this first episode?
I loved it.
Fresh eyes.
I loved it. I thought it was a super great pilot. What I enjoyed most was the fact that I can definitely tell which characters I'm going to absolutely love, which characters I'm going to hate, and then which characters I'm going to have one of those struggle relationships with, like, oh, I'm going to love you for a little bit, and then I'm going to hate you for a little bit. And I felt like the characters were very well developed, and that's what I enjoyed most.
So I have to ask, who do you love?
Who do I love?
Because I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, no, I love Maya
Yes.
for sure, and Luca.
Okay.
Those
I
are
love-
my
yes.
2 favorites.
Okay, perfect.
So
Definitely.
just so folks that might not know, Luca was a crossover. Luca Quinn, played by Chris Jumbo, was from The Good Wife, so she is a crossover character.
And Drexel, can I chime in here real quick?
Absolutely.
One of the things that got me hooked from the very beginning is that the show is so relevant to what's going on in today's politics.
Right.
Open up, she's sitting on her television, she's watching
Yes.
Trump getting sworn in, and you can just see, like, through the expression on her face, she's kind of in shock. And ironically, though, she kind of, and showing how professional she is, she actually leaned more toward, I guess, more a conservative defense, which I don't want to get into as far as the case that they're on, but I like that they're tackling political issues, police brutality, scandals on Wall Street. It's good stuff.
I 100% agree with you.
Jessie?
I wrote that down. Love it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I like how they are kind of going with current events, but I feel the same way. Like for me, this episode was more about like being introduced to the characters and kind of the storyline of what's going on.
Yeah.
So I was really excited to meet all the characters, and I kind of had the same opinion. You know, at first, honestly, I was like not sure what to think of Luca, but then what happened throughout the episode, I was like, okay, that's my girl. Yeah.
So I want to start with what AJ was, or Al was talking about, how the episode opens up, because it is called Inauguration. So this is the first time that I've ever seen where the pilot episode was not called pilot, because it's not really. I mean, it's like it's a continuation of a show, but it's a standalone show, but the word inauguration has multiple meanings with what's happening right now. You've got the inauguration of a president. You've got a start of a new life with Diane. You've got Maya's new life as a lawyer. And so I thought that was really interesting how that one word really set off something new for everybody else. So let's start with the kind of the characters, and you guys touched on characters that you liked. You got Maya, who's the new lawyer. You've got Diane, who's a crossover. You've got Kush Jumbo who plays
Is she Luca?
Luca Quinn, sorry. Who plays Luca Quinn. And then you've got some characters you've got Howard Lyman and you've got David Lee, who are also crossovers from last season. And one thing that I want to point out to everybody is that in The Good Wife started out with Lockhart Gardner, was the firm.
And I'm sorry, is Diane?
Diane Lockhart. She was the head of the firm. Diane's always been the head of it. She's always been the first name on the marquee. So it was Lockhart Gardner. Then it was Lockhart. Floric, Agos, and Lee. Then it was Lockhart, Agos, and Lee. And now it's like a 9-name firm: Lockhart, Deckler, Gussman, Lee, Lyman, Gilbert, Laurie, Kagan, Tannenbaum, and Associates.
I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, but like
when in the episode when
she answered the phone.
She answered the phone.
But here's the thing, like, do people really answer the phone like that?
I think I was just gonna say, if you fans of The Good Wife will know that like David Lee was very adamant about his name being mentioned, and so I think that because we talked about the merger, because they talked about a merger early on, that everybody's coming from a firm where their name was always said. And so I'm sure that those name partners were like, I want my name said when this phones are.
And can I get into something too about contrast that with how the phones were answered at Adrian Bosman's firm? Okay, they didn't have a secretary there, at least at the time. They're more of a young upstart company, predominantly African American, the scrappy firm. You know what I mean, fighting for people's rights. And he begs Delroy Lindo, who plays Adrian, the head of the firm, or one of the partners, he begs Luca, please can you do it? Please can you pick up the phone? And you're like, what's this going to be? And then she picks up a phone, and she affects this British accent. She's like, thank you for calling, Adrian Roseman's phone, blah, blah, blah. And it was really insightful because my experience, and my parents always told me this, there are certain things that black people have to do that other people, might take for granted or might be given. They don't come from the blue blood firm. The blue blood firm is the Lockhart firm. They're the rich firm, and this firm, they got to do whatever they can to get an advantage and let people see that that they're classy and on the rise and should be considered on the same level. Make sense?
Yeah, and we'll talk about Reddick Bozeman here in a little bit. That other firm, but to your point, Kush Jumbo is actually British.
Okay.
So,
it's natural
she's
for her.
Denise. So that was a little homage to her how she actually is, which is actually really cool.
She plays an American.
She plays
That's
an American.
crazy.
We talked about at the beginning of the episode, just to go back on the characters real quick. Maya Rose Leslie, for the Game of Thrones fans out there, she's from Game of Thrones.
Ygritte.
Yep. She's actually from Scotland, so she's another Brit. And then obviously Diane Lockhart, who's the crossover. So just for the fans out there, how we were talking about breaking down our shows, where we'll talk about this main character. So let's go into Maya's family, which I thought was really interesting. And the folks that don't know, the show is clearly filmed and set in New York City. If you watch shows that are set in New York City, as a Broadway fan, there were so many Broadway stars on this one episode that I was like, oh, they just plucked everybody. Bernadette Peters plays Maya's mother. Anthony Rapp played Diane's accountant friend, and then you've got her friend. There's just so many people. I thought it was really interesting. What did you guys think about them bringing in that kind of kind of Bernie Madoff ripped from the headlines part of this story and making it the main case, the main thing that's going to be stringing the next 9 episodes out?
Well, one of the, aside from that being still relevant today, because there's still people losing money and feeling the effects of that Ponzi scheme, what I liked about it is that the tentacles of that crime
Ooh, that's a good word.
reached into her family, the Rendells, Diane. It hit so
Yes.
many people. So it went beyond just this one scandal that this one firm, misappropriated money, but it affected these 2 people's livelihood. It affected Diane's livelihood. It affected Maya's livelihood. And it affected even Maya's girlfriend's livelihood, because now they're all over TMZ with a fake sex tape.
Right, and I actually like that point that you bring up because when we see this stuff happen on TV, we don't think of everything that it affects. We're like, oh, you lost all your money, that sucks. But like, then you can't get a job, then you're associated with this, whatever it is. But like, this affected them, both of the main characters, but other people too. To a great extent. You don't even think about like the family members getting ridiculed and harassed. I never thought of any of that.
No, I really enjoyed the word that you used with the tentacles, because I was trying to figure out how to explain that, and I
Tentacles.
like 100,000% agree with you, because I thought it was done so well how it involved everyone, because Diane kept saying that she would give their name to the women's club,
And she's
then-
giving it all over town.
yeah, and now she can't retire, and she has to like go back to work, but
Yes.
like no one
Nobody wants to touch
wants her because of this. But it's not even like her. She just put all of her trust into this one person, and now it's just like shattered, and you don't know who you.
And
Trust,
in
yes.
The Good Wife, Diane's network was so vast, because at one point she was up for a judgeship, and so she does have that background of when Henry was going into being arrested, Henry Rendell, they talked about the tentacles on the liberal elite in Cook County, which is in Illinois, which is also very interesting if you know Illinois politics, because Illinois politics is so dirty. It's
Chicago.
it's dirty politics in Illinois.
Chicago,
But I mean,
gangsta town.
no offense to folks.
That's what it's known
living in
for.
Chicago. It's just every governor has gone to jail. Almost every governor has has at some point been running with the law. So, and then in the from The Good Wife, it started out with Cook County state's attorney, having this sex scandal. So that's what you get out of Cook County. Why can't they just
Be normal.
Why can't they just be normal?
Yeah.
What's happening in Cook County?
What is happening there?
in the
Did you
water.
guys find it very? Because I know we got a lot of time, but did you guys find it very? I thought it was very sad that Maya, who is this fresh face, she just hadn't. A lot of people place blame on the kids, thinking they have a clue.
Right.
I mean, they're not the Trumps.
Yeah, they're not trying to get their daughter looped into all the like sensitive information.
But I meant in the sense that they're not heavily involved in the business side of
Yeah.
things, and so Maya got the brunt end of this.
Can we talk about how shady her dad is and how he tried to manipulate her?
But yes and no, because at one point I was like, is Bernadette calling? Like, is Maya's mother calling the shots? Like,
Right.
what is
Yeah.
happening? Because you got the uncle, you got the mom,
Yes.
and the mom seemed
There's layers
seemed
to
so
it.
aloof.
Yes.
But it almost came off as she was just playing the
Oh,
aloofness
that's her
to
role.
try to pretend.
That's her role. My prediction is that, well, it's not even a prediction. They foreshadowed it when Diane is first discussing, just by happenstance, how to invest her money, what she should do next. She's even thinking about taking it out. Henry Rendell, the father, discouraged her from that. No, it's not a good time. It really wouldn't work out for her. And to me, I was like, okay, he has selfish motives for keeping the money in there. And then on top of that, he turns around and tells his daughter, like, by the way, if she calls, don't talk to her. Just talk to me first. So it was
Yeah, that was a little shady
It was-
McGrady.
Yeah, shady.
Yeah.
It was shady from the jump.
Because Diane was just like, you should just give him a call. Like, he's a super nice guy. Like, he's not going to say anything mean to you or, like, anything. And he was just like, a little like, not going to do that. I felt so bad for Maya.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
especially when it was the uncle and the mom there, and they were like wanting her to sign the papers. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
was so glad of what she did
Oh, for
and what
sure.
her girlfriend told
Thank
her
God
to
her
do.
girlfriend stuck up.
Yeah.
And thank God she's a lawyer and she has some sense.
She's a state's attorney, so to be really interesting, she's assistant state's attorney Amy, her girlfriend, who I do the Quantico after show right after this, and that actress was on Quantico she played Lee on Quantico for a little while, and I thought that it's going to be really interesting to see how much of Peter Florrick as the state's attorney, he's not state's attorney, he was governor at one point, but how much they integrate like past cases of Peter Florrick if they ever come up, and how it affects Amy as an assistant state's attorney and her progression at Cook County. I just want to clear up something. Somebody asked can you all clear up what happened to the AfterBuzz Good Wife panel? Every once in a while, new panels get fleshed out here, so and new panels just take over. That's what really happens here
Yeah, and
because
sorry,
it's Los
I'm having
Angeles.
some technical errors.
It's okay
because
because
I can't see you guys. So
Yeah.
you can see me up there.
So Amy giving her that advice.
Yeah.
I thought because of the pause, I was like, "Girl, you better listen to your girl,
Right.
because he was like handing her like it just all. So I believe obviously the uncle is in on whatever it is.
Totally.
The mom is like.
I feel like she's in.
I
She's
feel
playing-
but I
she's
feel like
playing dumb.
right, but I feel like it would be too cliche for her to be so naive.
Yeah.
Like this whole show about these strong women
Yeah.
just seems so
She's the
like
one you don't see coming.
No, I
Right.
definitely
Totally.
think this is not like a Teresa Giudice situation for all those Housewives fans out there.
don't let
like,
Teresa fool you. Teresa was signing everything. She knew what was
I
happening.
know.
But I think this lady knows what's going
You
on.
could like it was in her facial expression during that moment when her daughter like wasn't gonna do it. You could tell the mom like knew what was happening.
Oh, yeah.
But also still had the love for her daughter, and it was just like that struggle, and you could see it.
Do you think that she had a love for her? Well, I mean, obviously she has a love for her, but I felt like she's like taking advantage of her kid. Like,
Can I
she's-
jump in on this
Yeah.
too? Because
Yeah.
I had to struggle with that because I'm like, if my dad wanted me to sign something to keep them from going to jail, I probably would sign
You're
it.
right.
But
Yeah, it's like where's the
That's
the
true.
line of
Here's
morality?
and I think here's what it came down to when her girlfriend intervened and told her like, it's like they're not your lawyers, and she clarified it. And then I like how they took it back to what's her name, Maya. She made the decision because like, do we have attorney-client privilege?
She's a lawyer. She had to
and
think
he
like
was
a
like,
lawyer.
oh well, that doesn't matter. I'm through with your mom. No, do we have attorney-client privilege? And he didn't have an answer for it, and so she
Yeah.
was able to make the answer up for herself.
Yeah, and it kind of sucked that this outsider had to be her to take off the blinders for her as a lawyer, because she did have that line of "This is my family."
Who wouldn't want to stick
But
up
she
for their
needed
family?
to stick. She needed to switch back into lawyer mode herself, or she was going to be in trouble, and they would have thrown her under the bus.
So
Totally.
we actually have somebody on live chat that was asking that they said they're not super clear on what the papers were.
I don't think that it was clear as far as I
Yeah,
know, it wasn't
I
clear in
didn't-
the episode. I think that it was all. So Maya was on the board, so it was kind of like they wanted her signature on things to kind of cover up probably past stuff.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, so Maya signed this.
move around some foundation money or something.
Maya signed this. A board member signed this, and board member signed that." And that's what I got out of that, because that happens often when you do have you're blindly trusting your people to
So
your family
scary.
to do right, well, especially in big corporations like that. And I think that that's what happened to the Madoffs, and I think that when you get to organizations, and I know we just brought up the Trump organization, but like when you get to organizations like that where your family is heavily involved in stuff like
Yes.
that, that can have an effect on they can throw you under the bus at any time, especially if it's the head with the lawyer, but you don't have attorney-client privilege, and there's a lot going on. So one of the other tentacles that they brought up, which was another crossover cast member, was Kurt, which was Diane's husband.
I love that actor.
Yes.
So towards the end of the last season of The Good Wife, Megan Hilty was playing Kurt's. Megan Hilty, who's from Wicked, was Kurt's student. That we all knew if you watched The Good Wife.
He had an affair
He was
with.
sleeping, he was sleeping with her.
Yes.
And yeah.
It all comes together
Yep.
now.
So, and I think at this point, what we know, and for folks that are just now watching it who might not have watched The Good Wife, this is the head. This is Diane was like, put her foot down, you slept with her, and then I found out, and this is where they've gotten divorced.
Can I ask a question for the ladies?
Yeah.
When she said, because obviously he's open to reconciliation, and he's like, I don't want a divorce. I don't care that they're gonna freeze my accounts. I want to keep the door open for something possible. When she said the door is closed, do you think she meant that 100%, or did she, or is that just more like a stance, like posturing?
I mean, I feel like this is such a tough question to answer because I feel like she's so tough, like on the outside, like surface, that I would say yes, she means it's closed, but to still be like interacting with him in the way that she was, I'm like, no, there's something still there.
Of course, there's something still there.
Yeah, I would say I didn't think she meant it. I just think she felt so bad as to what happened that she was just willing to take full blame and just have that
Yeah, she had to act tough.
rough
Well, what did you think, Hal?
appearance.
Well, I also know. Well, I think that there was a level of she wanted to not only take the blame. She had a guilty conscience, obviously.
Yeah.
For not only Kurt but every organization, Emily's List, like these
know,
big
that's
organizations
terrible.
who lost a lot of money. But when they first started dating in The Good Wife, Diane was a little hesitant about like going out with Kurt. And you brought up a fact about Diane's kind of political leanings. Diane is like a super liberal. But there were areas where there were episodes of The Good Wife where she was asked to sit on the other side.
Case in point, she's sitting on the other side, siding with the police.
But not as a lawyer. She was asked as a consultant to two lawyers to say, how would you argue this if you were
Yes,
sitting on this
that's
side from and so Diane does have that mentality of that, like being able to kind of see both sides.
Can
of
I,
what's happening.
which is a tribute to how smart she is, and that's probably why Adrian wants her. But can I ask you guys, what do you call those type of proceedings where it doesn't take place in a physical court, but like in a conference room? What do you call that?
You're talking about
And they have the stenographer there.
Yeah, it's just
Sorry, I mean when it's live, I'm like my brain.
Somebody in
doesn't
live
work.
chat tell
well,
us
and
what
it's late. Yeah, I should know this. My brother is a
they're,
lawyer, but I
um,
don't know.
They're not litigate. They're yeah, I'll think of it while I'm writing it down.
But the point was, she's smart enough to argue both sides, even though we know where her heart is.
Yes, you could
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
that in what we're trying to figure out with the whole room situation.
Yeah. So one of the other things we were talking about the Reddick Bozeman case. So the other side of now we've got this. Hold on. We've got this big main case
Deposition.
now. The deposition. Thank you. We've got. Thank you
I
a
know.
lot.
Thank you, seriously.
Because
that
literally, I was
killing
like
me.
making swirls on my thing so I could kind of figure it out what was happening.
That's what it's called.
So obviously this season we're going to talk a lot about this this financial case. What happens to Diane? What happens to her money? How can she rebuild? It kind of reminds me a little bit of what happened to Alicia. Alicia Florrick in the first episode. She basically had to start over from nothing when her husband cheated on her, but she was still this good wife all the way up until the final episode where Diane and her kind of went at each other. There was a line that I thought was really funny when Diane was talking to Maya in her office, and she said, some people I thought were bad were actually turned out to be good, and then some people I thought were saints turned out to be really bad.
Yes.
Throughout the entire series, Diane would call Alicia Saint Alicia. So that was at least I thought that was a little throw out to Alicia Florrick to say she wasn't so much of a saint, and that's what it was. But now the Lockhart, Deckler, Gussman, Lee, Lyman, all those people are sitting across the table from Reddick Bozeman, which ends up being a police brutality case. What did you guys think? Again, another situation. Did you guys think it was a cop-out for the writers to not only have a rip from the headline financial case and a rip from the headline police case where... Because, there's so many procedural shows on television that they could have picked any case.
They could have, but it didn't bother me. I see what you're saying, but let me tell you what I do like about the police brutality case. The way it's... Okay, I always try to listen to both sides. Obviously, I'm going to be more empathetic with the brothers who are getting beat down. But the cops, they have their side too. And their thing is, well, you never see what's happened first. You only see the beat down. You never see the context. And those guys are just car thieves. And guess what? They may have been scoping out to rob a car, but that didn't matter. They got their asses whooped from behind. So there was no provocation for that type of excessive force. And while they made it kind of complicated, okay, yeah, maybe these aren't like, you know, the guys don't follow the letter of the law. Maybe they're kind of shady guys. They didn't deserve that beat down. And one thing got nothing to do with the other.
I totally agree with you on that.
Well, and what we saw in the videos were, so what I thought was really cool about this, when we talked about things that are current, is we saw police body cams.
Which he turned off.
Which he turned off. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And then you had the cell phone video, which obviously
Yes.
people are using more and more now. I thought it was, and throughout this whole episode, it was all about what side are you on, Diane, basically. And even Luca said that. She said, "What happened to you?" And because Diane probably would have, if this is a different firm, Diane would have been on the other side. I don't know how many named partners there are in this new firm that are female, but obviously Diane was at the front of this table, and I only saw like a couple of other female partners in there. So I do think that at a certain level, Diane is now probably in a more conservative law firm.
And they played it as a very conservative firm, you know, with lots of Jewish names, playing to that, you know, stereotype or whatever. But it got gnarly in the end when you really learn what Lockhart, is that the name of the firm?
It's Lockhart, Deckler, Guzman.
When you
Leon,
learn what
Monaco.
they really think of Adrian Bozeman's firm.
Yeah, but I think, and if you watch, I mean, I'm a big fan of USA Suits too, and so that kind of law firm to law firm, like tit for tat, like who's a better law, especially when you're in a big city, is not uncommon.
Right.
Yeah.
But Lockhart Gardner the new firm, Lockhart Gardner, even in the first season, always knew they were the best in the city.
Yeah,
And which I thought was really interesting, that after everything that had happened, they brought Cook County. Diane was able to bring Cook County as a client. I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, you saw, with Reddick Bozeman, I didn't know if they were they didn't seem to be a startup firm. They were just an all-black firm,
Yeah.
which we never saw an all-black firm
but
in The Good Wife.
maybe startup isn't the word, but they're smaller.
Smaller
It's
firm,
like David and Goliath, and like and I'm thinking that's why he has her like say the little British accent to try and kind of gloss it up. But when I was talking about what they really think of them, Lockhart, when one of the lawyers said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna go to that firm with all the Schwarzes," we all know what that is. It's a derogatory term that in Yiddish, referring to black people. And I love that when I see that in shows, because I like reality. I like authentic moments where some people were like, well, I don't like hearing the N-word too much or something. Okay, let's say if you overuse it, excuse me to go on my little tirade, if you overuse it, say like a Quentin Tarantino and it's 100 times, it kind of loses its value. But when you want to see authentic people, I want to see them behave the way they should behave, and they can out themselves, and that makes it more enjoyable.
Right, and I think Howard Lyman probably said that line, the older,
Okay.
yeah, and because he's crazy.
Okay.
Like
he's the crazy,
like
crazy
he's
guy.
he's the one, when I remember live tweeting last night, I say he's the one that could barely find his pants. Like he would sit in his office and he would have no pants. He would sleep with no pants on in his office, and people would walk in and be like, "Howard, where's your pants?" Like that's the kind of
So
stuff
he's
that would
like
happen.
some old oddball grandfather.
Yes.
He was the one with the flower, had all the flower comments, right?
Yes, and
He
then
was
he,
that
he
crowd,
also,
yeah.
he's
He was
also
so
a
funny.
lawyer that was in emeritus status that they really wanted to be in emeritus status. Then they asked Diane to be in emeritus status, and when Adrian goes to Diane and jokingly calls her the diversity hire.
That was funny.
That was very funny. Diane hands off the case to Howard, knowing that Howard Lyman could
Yes.
never handle this case like that. What did you guys think of the new evidence that Maya brought in? Which was, like, I thought it was a little...
Deus Ex Machina, too.
Yeah, it was a little too weird for her to be like, oh wait, look at that car. I don't know. Maybe that was just me. I just thought it was like a little. It was like it's too easy.
It did seem easy, but I thought it helped in her character development just to see her that she is going to be a very good lawyer and she knows what she's
But
doing.
that was more investigative instead
Yeah.
of more
Yeah, no, I
lawyery.
totally agree.
Yeah.
Right.
But also thinking on her feet too. I think.
Yeah, so I think that's where they were going, and I didn't really know how else they would have been able to have placed that to have gotten more evidence that.
I mean, maybe it's easy for a rich girl, but like I saw that car and I was like, I had no idea that car had these cameras on it. Like
right.
shit.
Because
Like,
she used
I
it as a
guess-
friend. Like
yeah.
obviously. Oh, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
your
so
rich
it's like-
friends knew.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but okay.
Oh, and I also liked, we kind of glossed over this, how Maya was battling the whole tag of like of it being a nepotism hire, you know, and she has to hire. I'm kind of backtracking, but hide the flowers and everything, and she kind of does whatever she can do to kind of feel small. But it's funny, it goes the opposite way. She gets kicked out unceremoniously on her ass.
Yeah,
Right.
she got kicked out real harsh because I thought the same thing too. She was so welcomed and everything, and then they're like, "This your stuff? Okay, bye."
Beat it.
Yeah, and I thought, I mean, I loved that Diane kind of took a step back from what she was dealing with to look at how it was affecting, and you brought up like how it was affecting other people, and not only her situation. Obviously, Diane is going to be fine, but if your fall from grace is always harder, but it's always harder for somebody else.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's going to be harder for somebody who doesn't even who clearly came out of law school
Right.
and has nothing to back it, like, nothing to go for right now, except for people like coming into the office. And, like, I did not know if that guy coming in yelling was a partner. I didn't know where he came from. I didn't know how he got in there. I was like, who is this guy that keeps yelling?
I know,
And why is nobody around to kind of help
Because they're
this
like the
girl
lowest
out?
on the totem pole. Nobody cares about the little young attorneys.
And then Luca just told him to shut up, and I thought that was
Oh,
amazing.
yes.
I was like, "Yes, girl, please stop him."
Yeah, I love this new Luca Quinn.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, Luca actually, so how they introduced Luca Quinn was she was with Alicia. She met Alicia as like a, those lawyers that go into the courtroom and they kind of, not really ambulance chasers, but like a defense attorney. She was a court-appointed attorney, and so they would go in. And Luca actually started as a public defender. She started out as a public defender. Thank you. And Luca kind of rose her way up. She wanted to be. She kind of partnered with Alicia at some point, and then now she's at this. She went to Lockhart, August, and at one point, like there was a lot of talk about her partnering with Diane, and now she's on the other side, and now Diane has to go to her to the point where you saw her ask Adrian. And what did you guys think of the way that Luca handled her, the question that she had with Adrian,
I
whether
was
or not
like
to bring Diane
I was
in?
like they pre-rehearsed this. They already talked about it. Like it's too good. Like I can't believe that. I just figured they had talked before that.
Yeah, I mean, I think. What do you think?
I mean, I knew that she was going to be like, "Yeah, you should bring her in." So I was like wanting that not to happen, obviously. So I do agree with you, where it was kind of like, "Oh, you knew that was going to happen."
Are you talking about when they agreed to hire?
Yeah,
Okay.
Lockhart.
Or here's the third scenario. All those being valid. Third scenario is where Delroy Lindo, Adrian Bosman, while they're in the middle of the deposition, and they come out, he kind of alludes to the fact that Luca didn't have his back on something.
Right.
So
which,
this is her way of making it up to him. So if they had the conversation or not, maybe they
Yes,
didn't.
that's a good
She was just
point.
like, okay, I'm gonna get my boys back now.
But I also
Yeah.
don't think that Luca, with her relationship with Diane, obviously was also through the eyes of Alicia. Because she was Alicia's friend, where you heard her say when she was in the bathroom that she had a friend that had gone through something before that was like this, and that she's going to come out all right. And I believe that she was talking about Alicia. I don't know what you guys think, or folks that are fans of The Good Wife thought, but I thought she was referencing Alicia. And so she only knows Diane and the firm and things that she had gone through the eyes through Alicia's eyes, but she also knows that Diane is a very good lawyer. She would not be the first name of a 9-name partner, a law firm, if she was not a very good lawyer. So to not bring her over would be irresponsible, I thought.
And to like know the she can't legally reveal the tactics of the enemy, but just knowing how they think. I mean, she's invaluable to them.
Right.
I just really enjoyed Lockhart and Bozeman's relationship. You
Yes.
could tell that they were very good and true friends to each other, and even though when they would have those like bickering moments, and then after they would just like smile at each other because you knew they were on the same page. And I just really appreciated that throughout this entire episode.
He was like, "Come back home, girl. Come back on the good side. Come with us."
Yeah.
Which I wish, as a Good Wife fan, and there might have been a time where the firm's name came up, the Reddick Bozeman name came up, but we never saw Adrian as a character in The Good Wife. And I wish that there would have been a reference to their relationship at some point in The Good Wife, so at least we have like, oh, this is Diane, because they seem to be old friends. So well, Diane, like for her, Diane, who is very loyal, to have never seen one of her friends was a little. Obviously, you always have to bring in new characters to new shows, though.
Right.
One of the last few lines that they had was Diane goes out to talk to Maya. She takes her notebook that she got when she first became a lawyer. You've touched on how she got kicked out. First of all, I've never liked David Lee. David Lee has always been in it for David Lee.
Okay.
And even to the extent of him using Howard Lyman against Diane because he knew how dumb Howard Lyman was, so he would use Howard against Diane to get what he wanted, and that's how it ended up being. Which I think is interesting that his name is not after Diane Lockhart's name within the names, but the way that he kicked her out, I thought that he would have kept her as a stick it to Diane.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
But then he didn't do that. It was very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, if he was being shrewd and more calculating and Machiavellian, maybe he would have done that. But he was just probably going off raw emotion.
Or he probably did stick it to Dan by saying, "This was your hire. This is your pick. I'm weeding out all the people that you brought in, just like you brought in Alicia. You guys can go at the same time." Because David Lee never was a fan of Alicia either, and Diane brought in Alicia as well. But the last thing that she said to her was, "It's not over yet," which kind of gets us into what will be the season or this good fight of the season.
So that's my question, though.
Definitely.
When do you think, like, what happened between the point where Diane went to her and they had that little moment where she apologized and she said, you know, am I going to get my money back? And she says, I can't answer that question. So she said, Linda, like, don't talk to me. Like, what happened between that moment and the moment where she took a step back and then decided to kind of like bring Maya along?
I think that I think that Diane saw Maya as herself, and as this young lawyer who probably just got caught. Like, Diane has never been, like, she's been a very thoughtful person, at least from what we've seen on The Good Wife, even though she could get a little catty too. So I always thought that in that moment that she kind of looked at Maya and said, that's a young me. She had nothing to do with this. Like, she literally was in law school. She probably had zero clue of what was happening. Right. And I now need to take this person under my wing to try to fix. She's still a godmother.
Yes, but this is just like such a sticky situation. Like, even now, I'm just like, now what does Maya do? If she's going to go with Diane, like, that's going to continue to grow. And then the stuff with her parents, like, how is Maya going to be able to, I guess, like, handle being with Diane, but also, like,
that sets up some pretty good conflict for the rest of the season.
Which I think that you do, and I just want to clear up something. Diane didn't bring in Alicia. Will Gardner brought in Alicia. Diane just kind of signed off on it. But that, I mean, obviously I think there's going to be raw emotions throughout the whole season, and Diane's going to have to struggle between being mad at Maya for no reason, just like you would if there was a third party. You know, there's so many ways that we, deal with other people who are just there. Right. You're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Maya just so happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
But how the hell are you going to be Maya and, like, you want to go work with Diane? I mean, even though you don't have any part of this, it's like, these are still your parents on this end. I mean, she's your godmother, whatever that means in her life. But I just can't imagine, like,
she's a little
wanting
pariah
to
right
still
now.
Be in this situation.
Yeah. Well, for me, I kind of saw it as Maya was a young Diane too, but also I felt like how Diane and Maya interacted was a little more mother-daughter than actually Maya and her mom.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So she's going to be more of her surrogate mom.
Yeah, or something like that, and she'll still get upset with her
clearly
and
Bernadette
stuff.
Peters isn't doing it right.
No, she's not. She's not. So that's
I mean, she is her godmother. Her godmother's job is to fill in when the mother is unavailable at that time, and I thought that was a really great moment for Diane because you know, she really did try to bring Alicia in under her wing from The Good Wife, but this is a different type of relationship for her. And I don't think she ever saw Alicia as that daughter figure, just as a you know, Alicia had a lot of connections. Diane had, I mean, they're from the same circle because of her husband in that political world. And I think that Diane sees this person as a young Diane Lockhart who probably came from nothing and kind of worked her way up. I'm a little sad about Kurt and Diane, though. There was another moment that I just wanted to bring up.
Sounds like a song.
Kurt and Diane. There's another moment that I just want to bring up for the Good Wife fans. During Diane's retirement ceremony, there was a picture of Will and Diane that came up. If you have not watched it, The Good Wife, I'm sorry, because then you would know that Will ends up dying in the Good Wife. In The Good Wife, I mean, it doesn't do any good to not bring it up now because Will's picture was like up there. So Will Gardner ends up dying in the courtroom, and so that was a really good throwback to Will, so we could see Will one more time too. But yeah, so we have 9 episodes, all on CBS Access. All Access online. We will be doing episode 2 next week, and then we'll see how they kind of roll them out.
Yeah.
Because we thought they were rolling them out all at the same time, but they're not. I think they're going to roll them out week by week. I don't know. I tweeted at The Good Wife to ask them what they're going to do, but I'm under the impression they're going to roll them out one at a time. Even though we'll get episodes 2. We got episode 2 is out right now. We'll get episode 3 next week, but we're only going to do episodes 2 next. We're only going to do episode 2.
And Drexel, just to clarify, because it's kind of confusing for me, for the people at home. Okay, they put this pilot out as a springboard for their CBS All Access, but the show is not going to be airing every week on CBS?
Will not air on CBS every week. Will be on CBS All Access.
So you can't watch it at home on your TV. You got to get the CBS All Access thing or tune into us.
Here's what CBS did. They teased everybody by giving us the inaugural give us the first episode by saying, now you like this so much, now go buy the CBS All
like
Access
Netflix.
pass.
Yeah.
They got you. They hooked you, and now we're all buying passes now.
Exactly.
If you have your login, just leave it for us, and then we'll just.
And we'll use
I'm just
it.
kidding.
Thank you.
So, like I said, 9 more episodes left, which is going to take us into some predictions
Yeah.
about what you guys think is going to happen.
And now,
This
your
show is first
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
It's their first time in the studio, so it's a very different prediction.
It
for us,
is.
for
I'm
them.
used to the disco.
Yeah, the little disco ball. So you talked. Let's instead of like predictions about what you think is going to happen in the show, because to predict something from the pilot doesn't really make any sense.
No.
You talked about favorite characters. Who are your? Let's go back over your favorite characters again. You talked about Luca.
Luca for sure. Maya. And I mean, Diane is always going to be a favorite for me, but I also do like Bozeman.
And what
And
would
I
you like to
think-
see from those characters?
I want to see Maya. I mean, just get a stronger backbone, and I think she will. I'm like seeing that, and I'm wanting to see more of it for her to like become a Diane, and maybe Diane to just show her soft sides a little more than
She ain't got no money. She don't have a choice but to show a soft side.
Yeah, now.
Broke side.
Broke side, right.
But I'm super excited to see the Bozeman firm like grow so much now because of Diane, and I think it's gonna be great.
And
it's gonna be like a force of
They said they're
nature.
kicking ass and taking names, and they're out to screw those people. Get
Yeah.
them back. But
Yes.
along those lines, you're talking about you love Adrian Bozeman. I love Delroy Lindo, that actor. I've loved him ever since like Malcolm X, and just a big follower of his. But yeah, he just brings so much integrity and also panache to like all of his roles.
Yeah, he was like fun and quirky. He
Yeah.
wasn't super like serious and like all the
Right.
time. He had like really good moments of
And his
like a real
associate Barbara.
person.
Barbara was great too. Was that her name, Barbara? Yeah, Barbara, the other partner.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
she was.
Yeah.
I liked her.
So you
that's
like
what I
you like
think.
you like Adrian, or you like those guys? You liked
Yeah.
Adrian.
I like Maya. I like Diane too. I just, I mean, it's hard for me because like I find myself, I always like the roles of the women. Maybe it's because I'm a woman,
Well,
but
there's
like
a lot of women
yeah,
in this
I
show.
love Diane. I love Maya. And
What do you think of Luca?
then at first I was like, I don't know what this girl's problem is, because they were like looking at each other in the deposition room, and it was just like weird. And then when she stood up for her, I was like, dang, you go, girl. And then she came into the bathroom and gave her that little pep talk.
Yeah.
I was like, that's exactly what she needed. So I was, I'm
And I think
liking
Luca
her.
took a lot of what we miss about Alicia. Because towards the end, Alicia had a little fight in her. And I thought that was really great. And then, like, I also love Amy, the assistant, the girlfriend, who we'll see obviously more of that. But who I really miss, and I really wish she was a part of this show, is Kalinda. Kalinda was the investigator.
Kalinda.
She was Lockhart Gardner's original investigator, and then she ends up leaving. I mean, it was this big entanglement with with a lot of things that were happening. And then, but yeah, I do miss Kalinda, and hopefully she'll show back up, because I don't think that the actress Archie Panjabi's relationship with Juliana Margulies was all that great. So I think she left the show, and so hopefully now that Juliana Margulies is gone, then maybe she'll just show back up.
Yeah, let's start a hashtag.
Yeah.
Bring back Kalinda.
Yeah,
Or
perfect.
free Kalinda.
Free her.
Free Kalinda and bring back hashtag
Everyone,
Kalinda.
let's do it.
So like I said, next Monday we will do episode 2. If we change it to episodes 2 and 3, we'll let you guys know, and you'll see it on YouTube.
Yes.
Where can they find you guys? Where's Jessie?
Hey guys, I'm Jessie Zahner. You can find me all over social media at Athletic.
Hey everybody, I'm Al Gragg, aka Young People, aka Al G. You can find me on Instagram at alg_Jamaica House Film, as well as follow me on Twitter at SoundClashCine.
And again, I'm Sarah Serio. You can find me on Twitter at Sarah Serio.
And I'm Drexel Heard. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Drexel Heard. Remember to use the hashtag ABTVGoodFight, and tweet at us at AfterBuzz TV. Leave your comments below. We'll see you all next week.
Yay, yay.
See you later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.